Hello everybody, my name is Nandu Nandkishore and at age 62 I'm now a professor of practice with the Indian School of Business. Before that, for 35 years, I was in industry working in India and in other countries. With Nestle, I was the CEO for Indonesia, for the Philippines, for the global nutrition business, and then for all of Asia, Middle East, Africa, and Oceania. During my working life, we faced crisis on a regular basis, and there are some important learnings in dealing with a crisis. So today, we are all facing the COVID-19 crisis, and the question in front of us is what are the leadership lessons in dealing with a crisis like this? So the first thing in times of a crisis is do not panic. The crisis requires decisive and quick but thoughtful action. So first thing, separate what are the facts from what is opinion. In a fog of war, there's all going to be all kinds of facts floating around. There'll be fake facts, there'll be opinions. Separate them out. What do you know for sure? What more do you need to know? And if you don't know that, put in place processes to get that information. And what is an opinion? All three will be useful. The opinions will be useful, but you need to identify them specifically as an opinion. Once you put the process in place to identify the facts and gather more facts that you need to know, then look at your own business and identify in this crisis what are the key vulnerabilities your business has. Is it a supply chain vulnerability? Is it a last mile vulnerability? Normally, depending on your business, the vulnerabilities may be different. Some of your businesses may be process-related business where the process cannot stop for 365 days, 24/7. Maybe it's an agro-processing business. Or maybe it's a different business where you have a batch processing ability and you can in fact stop. Maybe it's a consulting business. So depending on your business, the vulnerabilities and the pressure points will be different. One of the common vulnerabilities to all businesses in times of crisis is going to be cash flow. Short-term cash flow to meet your expenses and to survive till the crisis gets over. Luckily, several governments like the UK, the US and France have stepped in to help cash flow for individual people as well as businesses. Once you've done this analysis of identifying your vulnerabilities, then remind yourself of what are the core values and principles that you will not compromise when you deal with the crisis. Remind yourself of your purpose. Why do you exist? Remind yourself of your corporate mission. These are going to be very important in making decisions in uncharted territories. Once you've done all of this, then the research tells us that basically there are two kinds of responses to any crisis. The first response is a threat response. The second response is an opportunity response. To be successful, you need to have both kinds of responses in a calibrated and balanced manner. Let's start by discussing what a threat response would look like. So I refer you to a brilliant speech made by the CEO of the JW Marriott Group, released just yesterday, where he identifies that this COVID-19 crisis has led to a significant 75% drop in their occupancy rates and business across the world, and which is worse than the wars, Second World War or the Great Depression, and what kind of steps they've taken to respond to the crisis. One of the first steps that people take is to look at what are the discretionary expenses. What expenses can you cut without fundamentally affecting the sustainability of the business? One logical place people tend to look at is employment expenses. And here, full marks to the JW Marriott Group, because the CEO and the chairman announced that they will in fact take no salary for the rest of the year. And the key leadership team have taken a 50% cut in salary. So cutting salaries and controlling costs always start at the top because it's the people at the bottom who are most affected by cash flow pressures in a crisis like this one. So when you're controlling costs and you're going with your threat response, consider each of your stakeholders, employees, suppliers, customers, shareholders, and how can you keep their interests, keeping in mind social equity as well as continuity of the business, as well as the fact that you will at some point of time come out of the crisis and you're going to need the support of all these people. So try to keep them alive, try to be fair in sharing the pain, but try to be smart. For example, you might choose to cut short-term promotional advertising. You might choose to cut short-term promotions. You might choose to cut short-term fresh hires unless they are crisis-related, for example. So be calibrated in your response in cutting what costs you need to cut and cutting them carefully. You do need to curtail activities and focus on what are the essential activities which you cannot compromise. Everything else you can afford to park. This is a very important part of the threat response. Moving forward, what then is an opportunity response and what could that look like? Well, the opportunity response basically says, listen, this is a crisis that's affecting everybody in the industry, right? So everybody is going to be facing the same pressures, and most of them, when they have stopped panicking, will start to take the threat response kind of measures. The question you need to ask is, how can I go one step beyond, and how can I actually use the crisis to build more consumer loyalty, to build more employer loyalty, and to build trust with all my key stakeholders? That is very key. And this then means that you have to take care of your employees and protect them, because for sure the crisis will be over and you will recover and come out of the crisis. So the opportunity response could mean, for example, making sure that the supply of your core goods and services are available to consumers and customers when they need it, at a price that is consistent with your pricing policy and is not subject to price gouging, which may actually erode trust of your customers and consumers. Ensure this reliability of your supply chain in a manner that does not expose your employees to risk. And if that means that you have certain key processes in your factory for which you need to house some employees full-time on your premises, well, do so. At the same time, providing support to their families separately, but so your processes can keep running while their families are looked after, almost as if they were in fact back with their families. So create the opportunity response, because the trust that you build with employees, with suppliers, with customers, with shareholders, this trust will stand you in good stead going long term. Advertising too, this may be a great time for you to create authentic, personalized, individualized communication to your customers to say, listen, we understand how this crisis is affecting you. Here's what we are doing. This is how you can help us. This is how we are trying to help you. And again, full marks to the JW Marriott president, because he talks about the threat response and the opportunity response in his message. His message was aimed at employees, but they shared it on social media, so it's available to everybody, including customers and other stakeholders. Kudos to the JW Marriott Group. That's the kind of thinking you should all engage in. One more point on the opportunity response. As people start to work from home, you have now an excellent testing ground on what works and what does not work. What is a must-have process? What is a nice-to-have process? And this may lead to some fundamental redesigning of the way you work when you come out of the crisis. For sure, we're all going to come out of the crisis. And when we come out, make sure that your company is best positioned to grow and recover customer market share and employee loyalty at that point in time. Having talked about the overall principles and the threat response and the opportunity response, we now come to one very important piece of a crisis response, and that is communication. The top 3 rules of communication are: number 1, communicate; number 2, communicate; number 3, communicate. There is no such thing as over-communication. You can communicate using a variety of media: emails, letters, video, social media, but you need to be consistent and keep sending messages out, because people in times of uncertainty, employees and customers and other stakeholders, shareholders, etc., they're all worried, they're all uncertain, they don't know what's happening to you, and they're looking for some measure of comfort and predictability and understanding. This is where you can come in and position yourself and your company as a leader in this world of crisis. Now, this communication has to be open, has to be transparent, and has to be measured, calm, and constructive. A very good example of the tone of voice is in front of us in the way the prime ministers of various countries, Singapore, etc., have communicated, in the way they have responded, or the Prime Minister of India yesterday, or other countries in the world, the way they have, in fact, responded and spoken to their citizens. What is important in the communication is that you say what you know, you say what you do not know, that you communicate what are the decisions you have taken based on what you know, and what is the response you expect from the people to whom the communication is addressed to. If you structure the communication in this way, that leaves the door open for you tomorrow, as you get more facts, to come back and say, now that we have more facts, we have a different way of looking at things, and therefore the decisions have changed, and therefore the responses we're looking from you have also evolved and changed. So communication is key. Communicate often, communicate frequently, communicate personally, communicate with authenticity and with transparency and honesty, and above all, in a calm, measured manner. This is key. Finally, one last message. We're going to come out of this crisis at some point of time. When we come out of the crisis, then, as we said earlier, never waste a good crisis. So let's draw the lessons from this crisis and prepare for future crises, because there will be more crises that will come, whatever the source is. So my message to you is the best time to prepare for a crisis is before the crisis happens. So set up in your company a crisis response team. Set up a crisis response protocol, a BCP, business continuity planning exercise, and then simulate a crisis for 1 day or 2 days every year and put your entire leadership team through this simulation. And this is very important, because the more you prepare to deal with a crisis and with different kinds of crisis, the better you will be when an actual crisis hits. And in this context, at Indian School of Business, I'm pleased to say that we do have the people and the faculty who are able to work with you and help train your team in these crisis response mechanisms when we come out of the crisis. Lastly, key message: this too shall pass. This is a tough crisis. It demands leadership. It demands visible leadership, but this crisis will pass. And the key question for us in these trying times, is what does our leadership say about us as individuals and about our corporates and our values that we are representing? I wish you good planning, and I wish you a successful navigation of this crisis. And I look forward to hearing from you as we come out of this crisis. Thank you.